Buck, how are you? Everything going okay?
I'm doing great. How are you guys today?
We're doing well, and we're starting to get pretty pumped up for baseball. And obviously, David Price is gone. We know that the bats are very dangerous. We know that some pitchers are back healthy. And certainly on paper here, Buck, Jays, I know the Red Sox made a few moves, and the Yankees are always, interesting. But it looks like the Jays, again, the team to beat in the division, huh?
Well, you know what? The big question marks are going to be their pitching staff, of course. And they have the best offense in baseball. There's no question about that. You know, headlined by Bautista, Donaldson, Encarnacion, and Tulowitzki. And you look at the depth of their lineup, it's pretty impressive. And now the big question, and I think it's a question with everybody in a division, is how well are they going to pitch? And of course, no David Price. He went 11-1 in his 11 start. 9-1 in his 11 starts during the regular season. And you know, the positive aspect of that is they're going to have Marcus Stroman for a full season.
You know, when you look at you talk about Marcus Stroman, but RA Dickey is he's the old head on this pitching staff. It feels like at some point it's got to give, and you wonder where Alex Anthopoulos goes if the pitching staff doesn't work itself out. You can't rely on 890 runs like they had last year. So what is the answer should the staff not be up to snuff?
Well, first of all, Alex Anthopoulos has moved on to the Dodgers, and there's a new leadership front office in place, and Mark Shapiro, the president, and Ross Atkins, the GM. So they're getting to know this team as well for their first spring training. But I think what they have done is they've brought in some veterans like a Gavin Floyd, Roberto Hernandez, Brad Penny, Jesse Chavez they picked up in a trade from the Oakland A's, and they brought back the former Blue Jay Happ. So there's a lot of depth in this camp. Whether or not they can recapture the form that they've had earlier in their career, that's the big question. But I think as you look at this team, the way it's situated today on February 29th, it's a much better team than at this point last spring. There's no question about that.
You know, Buck, I remember reading, I guess it was about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, that they had already sold out 50,000 seats for the home opener, which really speaks to the enthusiasm. Doesn't hurt that the Raptors are really good either. I mean, it seems like Toronto sports are doing really well right now. And there seems to be an enthusiasm for the game of baseball that really hasn't been there since the early 90s with Joe Carter and, of course, Jack Morris on that team, Olerud, Alomar, Robbie Alomar. It seems like Toronto baseball is as healthy as it's been in a couple of decades. Can they sustain that over the – I mean, is this –
Yes,
Okay, go ahead.
I think they can sustain it. And the unique aspect of this fan base, we saw them pick it up in the end of July when the Blue Jays made all those trades. But I think they sold out 21 of their last 22 games. It was a packed house every night. And, of course, they carried that momentum right into the postseason. But it's a younger fan base than we saw in 92 and 93. It's a young fan base. The personalities of this team are so positive, and they're so infectious with Stroman and Donaldson and Bautista. There's a lot of personality on this team, and the younger crowd has really bought into it. And you're right about the Raptors, and the Blue Jays certainly are pleased and proud of the way the Raptors are playing. But the Blue Jays are unique, and they are supported by the country from coast to coast. It is truly a national team. Whereas the Raptors are basically, they're Toronto's team and they're doing very well, but the Blue Jays are uniquely a national team.
You know, when you say that and you think about all the personalities, as you're alluding to, is that a hard job for their skip to manage all those guys? I mean, it's Troy Tulowitzki, it's the MVP and Donaldson and Encarnacion and Bautista, even Kevin Pillar, who had a good year last year. Is that a hard job to manage it, or is it easy?
You know what? It can be hard, but I think one thing that was the focus of Alex Anthopoulos last year was character. He paid a lot of attention to character when he started to change this team. He brought in Donaldson and Martin prior to spring training last year, and then when he traded, he brought in Tulowitzki, Price, Troy Hawkins, Ben Revere, and Derek Lowe, all character guys with a track record of winning. And I think that makes it easy. When your star players are policing the clubhouse, like Bautista and Donaldson and Martin, you don't have any problems as a manager. So basically, John, he just kind of lets them lead themselves and police themselves, and that's worked out to be very effective.
No, it's worked out well. It's a good style for that group, no doubt.